Wednesday. Samir, how is your Wednesday going?
Oh, just peachy keen. Literally, because I'm drinking peach juice.
It's stormy here in California. It was just hailing at my house, like violently hailing. Now I think it's just a nice normal rain.
I love the sound of rain. I've told you I live in my little attic apartment. When it rains, I can hear it, like the pitter patter of the raindrops on the roof right above my head. It's very soothing.
Luke thinks I look like a flight attendant. I was going for a European Sophia Loren look, but
it's that side scarf thing. I think that's what creates that look. But I do think you look fabulous. So thank you, Crystal.
Yes.
No Diet Coke. This is a Pepsi flight.
Yeah, we're on a cheaper airline.
I'm just kidding. I don't have a preference for either company. I don't drink cola anymore. So
if it's Patreon money, we could afford Coke.
I'm out of the cola wars at this point in my life. It's all about the root beer wars for me.
Oh, but welcome everyone. If you are new to watching us, this is the book club for movies. Amy and Samir here. We talk about movies. We do this 5 days a week. Today we will be talking about actress Sophia Loren and her most recent film. But before that, let's talk about last night's film. Yesterday we talked about director Terrence Malick and my favorite film of his, The New World. Okay. I am on pins and needles. I've been trying to get Samir to watch this movie for a really long time, and this is his first time watching it. I don't think he's gonna hate it, but I don't think I don't know. Samir's always very honest.
No, it wasn't my favorite movie. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Very pretty. There's very pretty. There's occasional.
I knew there's that. I'll take that.
So, Emmanuel Lubezki does a very good job of capturing the beauty of the natural world. It's a weird movie for me to watch also because I'm very tired of like the Pocahontas story. I don't care who's doing it. I don't want to hear that story anymore.
Okay.
I did read a review that was where I think I still have the quote here. I hope I do. It was like the last line in this review, and it was very scathing, but it also kind of summed up some issues. So one last thing, The New World makes it painfully obvious who's to blame for the extinction of the Native American population. Pocahontas herself. First, she convinces Powhatan to spare Smith's life, allowing him to return to Jamestown and set the colony right. Then she brings supplies to the starving settlers who likely would have died that first winter without intervention. Finally, she converts to Christianity and parades in front of English royalty, convincing those most capable of funding further expeditions that forcing the savages to accept Christ was a worthwhile effort. That's what kindness and charity get you, I reckon. And it was like, oh, those are pretty bitter words. I don't know if I would have gone quite that far, but I am like, it does sort of explain why America is obsessed with that story. Like, why is that the story of a Native person the story that you can't verify or validate in any really meaningful way beyond the facts that tell you that she was about 12 when this story was going on, which explains why the movie has no actual like sexual tension in it. It's more romantic tension. So there's a lot of beautiful mooning back and forth between these beautiful people. There's some lovely tender human moments between people at times that are very moving, like when she touches the face of the homeless beggar man when she's in Europe. Like little moments like that pop up here and there that feel tender and real between these actors, and it's those. So there's a lot of those kind of moments. I do feel like the film was kind of lost a lot of the time. Like I didn't know where we were. I'm like, oh, we're in England now. I had no idea we even transitioned to another country.
It is, I think, pretty characteristic of some of his other films as far as how it flows. I mean, that was one of the biggest critiques that he has had for years. Some people are like, well, there's not really a lot of structure in his films. There's not really even a whole lot of dialogue. I mean, there was like I'd say 2/3 of the dialogue in this was voiceover.
It was
Of
almost
this.
all voiceover, and or it was dialogue from the Indians that was not translated. So that was one issue I did have, was that it places us in the perspective of white people in this story, so that by the very nature of that, when that person is in danger, you automatically view whoever is hurting the character you're identifying with as a villainous, like an anti-hero or a villain in some way in comparison to this hero. So we're always seeing it through his eyes. So we see really, like, it seems like, oh, I hope they don't hurt Colin Farrell, these horrible Indians kind of moment. And I'm like, okay, have we still not like gone past viewing native people this way in movies? Do the fantasies have to always involve this kind of depiction of Indian people and tribal people? So there's that was a little bit of a problem for me. I did find it humorous because I don't think the movie really wants us to like root for the settlers. Like, I don't get that vibe from this movie, even though it still is like, I'm still think that the white perspective is problematic in how you depict Indian people. But I thought it was funny how, like, they're like, oh, we're going to set up, like, this is the grand beginnings of America. And it's like, okay, your little settlement looks like those, like, back alley slums in London where Jack the Ripper slaughters people in a couple hundred years. Like, you look like the dregs of society right now. And this is your grand experiment in colonizing another country. And so far, it was like, okay, like he's giving you the real talk on like all of that, and visually.
Yeah, I did like that compared to movies that take place around the same time period, whether it's this particular story or not. I felt like this was the more realistic portrayal versus this glamorization of like, here come people from England, and we're gonna set up. It's gonna be America,
and our clothes are spotless, even though we're starving. Like,
yeah, we all have perfect, clean white teeth. I still really enjoyed this movie. It certainly is, if you don't like Terrence Malick films, this is going to kind of be in that same vein of like, it's very beautiful. And
but I will say,
you almost watch this movie with the sound off, and you don't really miss.
If you watch it with the sound off, you miss the music. And look, we have someone in the comments here.
That is one of the best things about this movie is the incredible score by James Horner, which wasn't nominated. The only thing this movie got nominated for was cinematography. I don't know what it was up against that year, but my vote is it should have been nominated for best score as well.
I'm wondering if maybe that has something to do, because there is a repeated leitmotif of this very beautiful Mozart composition that is basically the leitmotif of Colin Farrell and Pocahontas, or Pocahontas basically when she's in love. Because it's kind of confusing what the story is, because I'm like, okay, is it a story about, the settlers? And then it's like, okay, is it a story about Pocahontas and John Smith? Is it, then it's like, oh, it's a story. Now it's a story about her journey. So I get the new world thing where it's like she goes to a world that's new to her. All these white people come to a world that's new to them. So the title, I can see the meaning of the title in those moments. But that piece of music, I recognized it instantly because weird side aside, my favorite figure skaters, like now of all time, I think, are this French ice dance duo that I've talked to you a lot about. The guy is just like the most stunning skater I think that anyone has ever seen in any form of skating. They really burst onto the scene as like the best in the world with that piece of music as their free program. And they crafted this like really stunning and tragic kind of love story on the ice with their choreography and their movement. And like the entire world, the skating world was just, and even people outside it from the world of dance were like very drawn to that program. Like everyone's eyes were like, whoa, mind's blown. We have new masters on the scene and nobody looks or moves like these people. And it was to that piece of music. So it was like, oh, like, okay, everybody who hears that music hears kind of a tragic love story when they hear it. It was just an interesting thing that came to me while watching this movie. So no, I did not hate it. I will, so.
And, I will settle for that as long as you didn't hate the movie. I do want to talk about Luke's comment here with, I'll just keep talking about Colin Farrell. Daredevil is awful. It's just straight up awful. I own it because I have this random like 3-pack of Colin Farrell DVDs I got from Costco when I was like a teenager. and it's in there. And I really think they made that 3-pack just to like get rid of DVDs of that movie or something, because the other movies are
They're just clearing inventory.
awful. It's absolutely awful. But then Luke goes on, you can't see it over here, but he says, I'm still debating if it was a weaker performance or Alexander. Alexander, I do love that movie. I think Colin Farrell is great in that movie. If anyone ever watches it, watch the director's cut. The theatrical version is ridiculous. The director's cut is like a completely different movie. I've discussed this in depth with Samir before.
It's okay. I'm loving Matthew's comments here as well. I'm loving everybody's comments today, but I love the little tidbits we're getting on some of the people in the music world of film. Like, this is awesome. Thank you so much for this info. Cocoon. Oh my God. I saw that movie in the theaters as a child with my family. Okay, like
I still haven't seen that movie because it's like I feel like I've looked for it before, but it's like it hasn't been available some places. And people are always like, I can't. I don't know. Last time I looked, granted it's been a while, it wasn't available for me to rent it or anything like that.
That is sad. I actually have it. We used to have it taped off of HBO back in the day when it was first aired on HBO after it left theaters. We videotaped it. And it was one of our, our video collection was mostly movies we taped off of HBO or something rather than movies we bought. So we had quite a collection of things for years, and that was one of them that every now and then we would pop in. I was always sad, of course, at the end of that movie, but I was always like, I don't know, that movie always fascinated me. So it's been so long since anybody even mentioned the name of that movie, so thank you.
Well, if you didn't watch The New World, check it out. It is available to rent right now. If you're a Colin Farrell fan, as I am, this is just essential viewing of all things Colin Farrell. He looks so hot in this movie. Like, yeah.
Lots of beautiful shirtless shots, ready for the romance covers.
And like I said, as a teenager, I was, and still now, I'm so jealous of this actress, because I'm jealous of any actress who gets a kiss in him, but like, this was her first kiss, was with Colin Farrell.
Oh wow, Matthew.
She's still acting today. She's I was happy to see that. Anywho, check it out. It's a beautiful movie. Even if you aren't crazy about the plot, it's a beautiful movie. Everyone can agree that it's a visually beautiful film. Speaking of beautiful, let's move on to the lovely Sophia Loren. Now, I spent several minutes trying to pick out just like one photo to show.
Oh, I should have just picked one and sent it to you.
I
should have.
I finally liked I picked this one because of I like the dress and the palm trees. But she, no matter what age, including today, she's in her mid-late 80s. She has always been a incredibly stunning woman, and it was just like near impossible to just pick one photo. It was like, do I pick early Sophia Loren? Do I pick middle age? Do I pick something more recent? She looks gorgeous no matter what. Sophia Loren. She's still kicking. She is I believe she's 86. She'll be turning 87 this year. She's been active since I think since 1950 is when her entertainment career started. But Sophia Loren was born in Rome. She was born Sophia Villani Sciccolone. I cannot do that one. Sciccolone. Yeah, she was born September 20th, 1934 in Rome. Single mother. The father never married the mother and was kind of like absent. Like I read that Sophia Loren had only met him like 3 times in her whole life, and she always kind of resented that he had left her mother to just support 2 kids. Sophia Loren,
naturally,
yeah. Sophia Loren became a beauty queen. She was in some beauty pageants, and it was encouraged that she go into acting. She was in some smaller parts, going into some leading roles in Italy. I mean, she was still just a teenager at this point. And then in the 1950s, after some of these Italian films, she came over to the U.S., and I believe she was with Paramount. Yes, she had a 5-picture contract with Paramount Pictures starting in 1958, and that just shot her to international fame of like, oh, this Italian beauty, and not just a beauty, she could actually act too, and it was really good. And she won Best Actress in what was it, 1961?
1961.
Yeah, for Two Women.
Yes, it was an Italian film, so it was
Yeah,
a non-English language film
and she was the
that
first
she won
actress to
for.
win
And
for a
fun
foreign language.
fact, one of her first American films on that Paramount deal, I think it may have been her first picture, which was a big deal. That movie turned out to be a flop. I think it was her other pictures that she made at the same time, but were released like a month or two later that were huge hits. But her first movie, I think, was Desire Under the Elms with Anthony Perkins. And so it was supposed to be this passionate romantic drama. It was like, Eugene O'Neill play. It was really, really famous play in the 1920s. And so they had been waiting for years. Hollywood had been trying to make a movie of this for years. So everyone thought this was going to be this tremendous accomplishment. And it was different having Sophia Loren play this character, because it was like, oh, this is a sort of like a person from outside of this insular world of this farm, is the one who's sort of come in and uprooted everything, through the course of the story, not through necessarily any fault of her own. But it was just odd that she's paired across from like the sensitive, slightly androgynous and beautiful Anthony Perkins, who's supposed to be this symbol of like virility on this farm in a way, combined with the sensitivity, but all he had was the sensitivity and not necessarily the virility. So the movie looked really crazy. They're like, Sophia Loren looks like she's going to eat him alive. And isn't she supposed to be desperately in love with him? It was a very weird movie. She looks stunning in it though. Like you don't even care what the movie is about. You're just like completely captivated by her. It does have a tragic end. They both actually do give great acting moments together towards the end of the film, but it's a weird movie because it's a movie about property, and the whole thing is obviously made on a soundstage and not filmed on location. But she was really the one thing of that movie that everybody was like, wow. And then the rest is history. She soared after that.
Yeah, and she seems like someone who like really took her acting career seriously. Like even this film that she won Best Actress for, she's only in her like 30s at that point, like early 30s. And the plot of that movie, there's a mother and there's a daughter, and she was originally supposed to play this daughter, and she said like, no, I want to play the mother, like, which it's like, you want to play someone older? Like, especially at that time. And that's just, she liked that role better, and she ended up winning an Oscar for it. She was also nominated in 1965 for Best Actress for Matrimonio all'Italiana.
Marriage Italian style in
English. Yep, I totally butchered that. Like the Italian wedding, and you're like, married Italian style. Like, that's it. That's the translation.
That's because I only knew the English title. I didn't actually know what the title was in Italian, so that was the first time I'd actually heard someone say that. So thank you.
She won an honorary Oscar in 91, her Lifetime Achievement Award for that. She's also been nominated and has won several Golden Globes throughout the years, starting from the 60s all the way going into the mid 90s. She was married once. She had a long marriage, and she has 2 sons. Once she got married, she didn't act quite as much. She was very devoted to raising her kids. Would maybe only act in things in Italy, was just very, I don't know, like, this better be a good role because I'm going to have to leave my kids to do this.
Yeah.
She also is one of the first celebrities to ever have her own fragrance. It was called Sophia, and I think that came out in the 80s. Yeah, she's an icon, and she's still acting today. I think everyone has always just known about her as just being one of these famous faces, these famous like icons. And she's a red carpet staple to this day. She was even kind
of she was playing like the bombshell character like well into her later years. Like I can was it that movie Pret-a-Porter ready to wear. It was like a big budget, like multiple, huge superstar cast that did not actually make a lot of money. I feel like she was in that, but there's like a scene where she's like being very seductive with another older man, like trying to seduce somebody still. And I'm like, but she pulled it off because she still has that energy about her. It's like, it's not about your age. It's not necessarily about like how perfect looking you are. It's like, it's really, she kind of embodies that. Like, if she didn't have that kind of spirit, she wouldn't be able to still pull that off so convincing. Like it just seems natural. She doesn't have to struggle to pull off that kind of performance when they put her in a movie. So she can still kind of sell that, even, we'll see now, because the movie we chose for today is a new movie that I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, so this movie was picked by my Aunt Julia, one of our Patreons. This is The Life Ahead, which just came out this year. In seaside Italy, a Holocaust survivor with a daycare business takes in a 12-year-old street kid who recently robbed her. This movie is probably going to get nominated for some Oscars this year. At the Globes, it won Best Original Song, and it was nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. So Sophia Loren's still acting, and look at her. She's still a stunner.
Right, she photographs very well. I mean, granted, there's obviously some touch-up work in that poster.
I think there was. I was going to say, she looks especially good in that photo.
But I'm sure she still looks great in the movie. But I don't think I've ever seen her play. This is a kind of a new role for her in a lot of ways. Not, age aside. I mean, the role that she's like, it's like I'm curious to see how this movie goes. It's probably going to be kind of predictable. There's something, like you'll be able to probably tell, but I don't think you watch a movie like this because you think it's going to have a plot twist. You go to see it like, is this story sincere? Is it emotionally honest? Are the performers really, pulling something, deep and meaningful out from this material in their performance? And I think that she's got the life experience. She's seen and experienced so much in her career over all these decades that I think she can bring a real wisdom and warmth to the role, and possibly still surprises, because it's not usual that we see her playing someone who was, I think I think she might win another Oscar for this if the movie's good enough or the role's good enough. I think it's possible, because I think it'll give people a memory of two women in some way, because that was also a mother dealing with war, and this is somebody who's long since the war, those experiences in war are a bitter memory for her. And I just feel like something will awaken Academy voters' memories about that, and somehow they may really kind of get behind giving her another Oscar so they can have this moment of like awarding her now. Possible. It's possible, I think.
Yeah, she wasn't nominated for a Globe, and I don't think she was nominated for a SAG award, which that hasn't happened.
Oh, she didn't? Okay, then it's not going to happen.
I know.
But she didn't get nominated for a SAG, but you never know. Sometimes Oscars surprise you.
That's true. You never know. Apparently, she hasn't acted since 2010.
Wow.
Yeah, so this must be worth it for her to be like, well, I'm in my 80s. What else am I doing?
Living fabulously.
Yes. Oh, I should also mention her singing as well. She has quite a few soundtrack credits. I think she had recorded a comedy album with Peter Sellers, although apparently he was being kind of creepy to her. He was just like hitting on her. Like,
Peter Sellers, eh?
Yeah, Peter Sellers. Yeah, but Sophia Loren, she's just such. Oh God, I'm looking at more photos of her. She's just more photos. She is incapable of taking a bad photo.
You can't get enough.
Like with makeup, without makeup, young, middle-aged, old, always just absolutely stunning. I'm really excited to see her in this movie tonight. And then I do want to see the film that she won her Oscar for. I know I recognize images from that movie, but it's been a mission of mine to see all of the Best Actress winning performances, which I've seen quite a few, but certainly the older the movie is, the less likely I've seen it, with exceptions. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to watching this. And this is on Netflix. So no excuses. Occasionally we get some people, they're like, I still don't have Netflix. Get with the times, people. Or someone else's Netflix password. You know someone who has Netflix. Yeah.
Yes, you do. I if you don't even have it now, like, does Netflix even offer a free trial? I don't even know if they do that anymore.
I don't know. I think at this point they're like, uh, you know we're cool, okay? You know.
Yeah.
You don't even say anything out, okay? I look at all of the awards that we've won. Case in point,
Right.
The Crown. That's all we need to show you.
Yes, Two Women is not a happy story for sure. Walter's pointing out some of the plot points of that film. Wait, and your friend wrote a film starring Isabelle Huppert? We need to talk. I love her.
Walter knows everyone.
She's one of my favorites. She's one of my favorite actresses of France. Maybe someday we'll talk about it.
Look at our Patreon. Again, this movie was a Patreon pick. You have to have a certain tier to do that, but we really appreciate that. Also, as we mentioned yesterday, we have merchandising on Redbubble. If you go on Redbubble, either search for my name or search for the Book Club for Movies. You can get our logo on for kind of whatever you want. There are t-shirts, hoodies. I ordered for myself, I ordered a t-shirt and a coffee mug because I'm always drinking caffeine or thing. And a magnet. Yeah. Check that out.
Amy, you just love buying things, don't you?
I do. I'm my biggest customer so far with my own merchandise.
Fair enough.
Oh, I know. But check it out. And yeah, please watch The Life Ahead. Join us tomorrow. We'll discuss The Life Ahead after watching it, and then we'll be doing day 2 of 4 of our fantasy films that we're doing for Genre Thursdays this month. Tomorrow is The Little Princess, which Samir and I absolutely love. I haven't seen in quite some time, with the same wonderful cinematographer as The New World. So it's great. It's a fantastic film. Really excited to revisiting that. Please watch The Life Ahead, available on Netflix. Check out our Patreon. Check out our merch on Redbubble. Again, just look for my name or the Book Club for Movies, and it'll pop up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.